2002, Serena Williams defeats her sister Venus and wins the French Open. Wall Street Journal reporter Daniel Pearl is kidnapped and murdered. And President Bush addresses the United Nations.
Saddam Hussein's regime is a grave and gathering danger.
As the world watched and waited, Sarah Palin was in the middle of her second term as mayor of her hometown, Wasilla.
She had run a bit of a maverick campaign. The Republican Party organization had taken note of her, and so they began to look at her as a potential statewide politician.
So she decided to run for lieutenant governor.
And then entered into this race against people that really are your friends, and now all of a sudden you're all competitors because you're going for the same goal.
It was very much a grassroots campaign. She basically did it out of her car and out of her briefcase. She just went and talked to people.
I just remember that fundraising was difficult because the fact that those other people were very well known and she essentially wasn't.
She fought hard and campaigned even harder.
Thank you so much.
But a mere 2,000 votes kept her from clinching the Republican Party's nomination.
I would be naive to think that it's as easy for a woman, I think, in this man's world of Alaskan politics. I think a woman has to work that much harder to prove herself, and it's a challenge.
The 38-year-old mother of four once again sought refuge and comfort in her husband Todd and their family.
When she lost for lieutenant governor, she and I had a conversation. I said, you know what, Sarah? You are destined for bigger things than the lieutenant governorship.
But she attracted attention. She got name recognition. Well, the governor, Murkowski, appointed her to the Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, which has pretty much chief responsibility for monitoring how the industry here is being regulated.
The 2003 appointment would thrust Palin into the limelight and all but cement her future political career.
She had principal responsibility for ethics. Well, she took note that a number of people in the Republican Party who were on that commission with her were using their offices for party business. There were other kinds of skullduggery going on.
The main offender? GOP chairman and fellow commissioner Randy Rudrick.
And so she talked to Randy about these things, and nothing much came of it. And so she went up the chain of command to try and remedy the situation.
In November 2003, the state began its official investigation into Rudrick. 3 days after, he resigned, but wasn't formally accused.
Basically, she waited again to see what was going to happen, and nothing did.
Frustrated and disillusioned, Sarah left her post as chair of the commission.
And she blew the whistle.
In doing so, she stepped out as an independent. The party did not support her blowing the whistle on the party undertaking corrupt activities. And so she parted company at that time with the party organization in Alaska.
Rudrick eventually settled with the state by paying a record $12,000 civil fine, admitting misconduct.
She was hugely successful. Not only was the party chair forced to resign, but the state attorney general was forced to resign also.
She talked to the press about what her experience had been once she was allowed to do so. That was a turning point for her career in the sense that she stood up in a big way to some very powerful interests in the state.
She was praised as a hero in the press and in the eyes of the public.
This was the spirit that brought me to the governor's office when I took on the old politics as usual in Juneau. When I stood up to the special interests and the lobbyists and the big oil companies and the good old boys, we put the government of our state back on the side of the people.
Just ahead as the governor's career soars, some other family troubles. A bitter custody battle between Sarah's sister and her ex-husband. A fired Alaskan state trooper makes headlines.
We have a new baby coming into this house. People have asked me, well, they asked me early on especially, how are you going to do it, be governor, while you have young kids? And I say, the same way every other governor governor has done it.
This is exclusive Fox News footage from last April showing a beaming Sarah shortly before she gave birth to her 5th child, Trig.
I feel great.
Yeah?
It's been extraordinarily comfortable and easy, this pregnancy. In fact, I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant until last month, and I hid it until last month, and then didn't even purposely really try to hide it. Just my abs were tight and I could hide it until this month. There was no way.
At this time, Sarah and Todd knew Trig would have special needs as a Down syndrome child.
There's some confusion. There's a lot of energy, a lot of activity, but thank the Lord, I have a very supportive family, a large family, tremendous amount of help all the time by grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Couldn't do it without my family, that network of support.
Alaska's first family had no idea that Mom was about to be thrust into the national spotlight.
What is Governor stuff, Piper?
I don't know.
Piper. Okay, tell me, what do you want to be when you grow up?
A babysitter.
A babysitter. What do I do? What do you see me doing during the day?
Working on the computer.
Accomplishing what, though? What am I doing on the computer?
Checking emails.
Sarah Palin began to catch national interest after taking down corrupt public officials. Some were political rivals.
People started saying, well, hey, you know, wait a minute, why don't you run for office? Why don't you become the next governor?
That's what she decided to do, but Palin faced a tough fight to become the 11th governor of Alaska and its first woman governor. Running in 2006, she faced off in a memorable series of three-way debates, Alaska style. Former three-time U.S. Senator and incumbent governor, Republican Frank Murkowski, Fairbanks businessman John Binkley, and in the middle, the hockey mom turned politician.
Keeping the oil industry the way it's been for 30 years, which is a severance tax.
You know, you guys, we owe Alaskans a better discourse than this.
I agree.
Sarah, just with this very firm voice, said, guys, you know what? And everything got quiet. And she said, you know, Alaskans deserve a better discourse than this.
To my ability.
Sarah Palin became governor with 51% of the vote and won the hearts of Alaskans with her first official act.
One of the first things that she did was she put his jet up on eBay for sale. Frank Murkowski's jet was symbolic of everything that was wrong in the Republican Party in Alaska at that time. There was it was an indulgence that was unnecessary.
Palin vetoed $231 million, or nearly $250 million, in projects from the state capital budget in 2007, and took on big oil by boosting taxes on their profits. Todd quit his job as a North Slope production supervisor for BP when his wife, the governor, began negotiations for a natural gas pipeline.
My job as the administrator, as the CEO of the state, is to make sure that we're maximizing the benefits for Alaskans.
You know, there's no advice that I would give her. I mean, you know, she's professional. The woman has run for office, got an 80% approval rating already in Alaska. She doesn't need advice from me. My advice to Joe Biden for the debate is, please take a look at her tape.
We tend to prefer candidates who don't talk about us one way in Scranton and another way in San Francisco.
And let's talk if you want, because she's very good, and he's got to be careful.